Finance meeting to order, and we're going to get started with Health and Human Services Resolution 1 through number 18. Is there any, first of all, any discussion on any of these resolutions?
I'll move them.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're going to move on to public safety. We have resolution number 19 through number 27.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, county government. We're at resolution number 28 and to number 41.
I'll move that.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, economic development, resolution number 42 through number 45. Any discussion?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public Works, number 46 through number 57. Is there any discussion?
I'll move them.
We have a second?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Ron seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Finance, resolution number 58 through 67. Is there any discussion?
I'll move those.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Is there anyone who has anything that they wanted to bring before the Finance Committee? If not, motion to adjourn.
That was a well-run meeting.
Second. Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Best
That was
meeting
quick.
ever.
Jim and TJ?
Okay, I have a quick couple, 5 or 6 slides to go over with everybody and get a quick summary of the budget. The first one is the summary by fund that shows our tax levy totals and the fund balance we're appropriating. So general fund, we're appropriating 2.7 million in fund balance and 1 million in highway to balance out. Tax levy is going up 2%, which is below our tax cap calculation. But we did not want to go over 2% and kind of keep it as a reasonable amount of tax levy increase. Assessed value across the county is up about 10% across the board. So the tax rate that people are paying is continues to go down. So if an average, you can see that the graphics keeps going down. We're about $4.95 per 1,000 as it stands right now. That's different from town to town, but that's just an average across the county. Average home value now is about 330,000, 317. So that continues to climb tremendously. Just a couple, we'll do some summaries by fund and general fund. You can see by category where we're spending. Personal services is up 5.6%. Equipment shows that it's down, but that's more of a reflection of we spent a lot this year, some ARPA money on vehicles and the sheriff. There's some grant money in there as well on public safety that's not being rolled over into 23. So it shows it's going down overall, but some of that's grant funding. Same with contractual. There's a bunch of grants that if we don't spend in 22, we'll roll over the remaining balance into 23, which will bump that number up. So it shows it down, but we have about $4 million in grants and other things that are not included in this. Benefits is up, but most of that's retirement, and we bumped up medical about 5%, a little less than what we're seeing in the self-insurance. Saved us a little money there. I think if we weren't self-insured, we'd see a 10 to 12% increase in medical. The things that are kind of driving the increases in general fund, you can see that their fuel. Everybody's aware of fuel, 30% up there. Utilities, we're really kind of starting to see a lot of increased costs there. We're taking a look at that with the vendors we're working on. Insurance is up across the board in all funds. A lot of that was driven by our cybersecurity insurance, which the carrier dropped and forced us to get a new policy that was significantly more expensive than the policy we were paying for, but it's something we have to have, and it's something every county's been dealing with, is the dropping of that insurance. Our agreement with the community college and Greene County, based on FTE at the community college, our share went up 200,000. EMS is up. This is the money we pay to the ambulance squads for standby and making their runs. Assigned counsel, that's more of a making the budget what it should be. We've been spending about that amount the last couple of years. We're going to try and get some of that back through some grants through the public defender. So about 100,000 of that we have budgeted as revenue in the public defender to try and get some of that back through his grants. The jail medical expense, that's the outsourcing of all the medical there. The net effect of that, after we reduce some of the positions and overtime and some things, is about $600,000 in the jail's budget of increases. Sales tax, that's we'll talk about sales tax in a second. We increased the share going to the towns by $1.8 million, and then benefits we talked about a little bit. So sales tax, we budgeted a little less than what we made in 2021. We made $55.8 million in 21. We budgeted $55 million even in 23. I think a lot of us are nervous about sales tax with if there's a recession or not a recession. But things kind of still point that if there is a recession, it's going to be kind of a quick turnaround, more of a, I guess I call it a V than a U. So we're kind of feel comfortable with the sales tax number we have in there for next year.
I have a question about the community college.
Yeah.
Is that increase, you said it was related to students that are?
Yeah.
And is that because we have slightly more students this year than the year before?
Yeah, so it's a risk. Greene County went down and we went up. I think we went up 6 students. So those 6 students cost us $200,000 because Greene County lost 12 or something. That was, yeah.
Yeah, last year we took a decrease.
It was literally a handful of students that we added and they reduced some and it just swung the ratio. So we're working with them to kind of try and smooth that out so we don't see this again.
Just a quick question on the chart. So it says money change 2022, percent change 2022. You're saying like this, we're looking at the 23 numbers. This is like change from 2022, just missing the word from.
Yeah, from 2022's budget,
Okay,
amended budget. Yep.
got it. Thank you.
Jim, what's the EMS, the 200 grand? What is that exactly for?
Yeah, I can explain that. That's basically for the standby and new vacancies around through the depleted area, and if they take calls in that area. Last couple of years, quite frankly, we've been running a little over budget. And, due to the healthcare crisis that we're seeing right now, lack of staffing and wait times in the ER, we're moving them even more. It's truly a crisis. The call volume from 20 to 21 in just CCMS, okay, which is moving these ambulances around, was up 22%. And again, it's used efficiently, but quite frankly, we're coming to a crisis situation. Quite frankly, just yesterday, we were down to one ambulance in the whole county. And that's due to wait times, significant shortages. It's become crisis, and I'm sure you've read about it. It wasn't a time Union County Building was trying to address it. We're working with the hospitals.
So I'm, fully aware, PJ, but I guess the specifically the 200, I mean, what does that pay? I mean, when we move somebody, are we then picking that up? The
When we
county?
move somebody, we pay them $170.
Okay, that's right. Okay. So we're moving people a lot more. Is what you're saying.
Yes, we
Got
are.
it. Okay.
Significant.
And again, like PJ said, this is more of a budget adjustment. We've been spending that 200 grand for a couple of years.
Fine.
Just so you know, we have revenue that offsets that, and we should hit 250, 275 in revenue this year.
I just would, the assigned counsel, I just wanted to say that we have no control over that. That's the judges assign the counsel, so we just have to pay the bill. And that's, that's over and above our, what are they called, Kelly? Our 3 attorneys.
Conflict defenders, thank you, yes.
No, we hope they would use those, but a lot of times the judges,
You're talking town judges?
no, these are county judges.
Okay.
And it's family court and criminal court.
It's actually all the courts. It is the town.
Is it?
Like,
Yeah,
for instance, if you
it's
have
all-
multiple, if you have 4
Okay, well, I
defendants in a
apologize.
case and the public defender's representing one, a conflict defender's representing the other, and the other conflict defenders we're down to 3.
Right.
So, you could conceivably run out of attorneys and you have to assign.
But when I worked in the court, we were always taught that you had to go through the conflict defenders first.
Correct,
Right.
you do, you still do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Just run out quick.
I
Yes, we do.
misunderstood the chairman when he said,
No, and I didn't explain it that way.
okay. And then the medical expense jail, that's really not that much of an increase because there's offset cost
The
savings.
net is
for our
about,
doctor and our staff.
about 600 is the net.
So it's really a 250.
Yeah. No, it's a 600 increase.
Oh, it is a 600.
Yeah.
Because it's 1-2.
That-
200 was salaries that we.
That
did away
eight,
with.
the 849 is an increase in that line on the budget, but the net, if you take everything out, it's about 600. I think 570 something.
So your revenue offset of about 250.
No, the offset is, we eliminated positions in the jail. And we had other budget lines for example, we had a budget line for, pharmaceuticals for inmates. So that's a 0 now because it's all coming through here. So the net of all those is about 570 something, almost $600,000 to the
But when
bad.
we looked at, when it was proposed in that 1.2 million number, and we looked at, the cost that we were paying the doctors and the others, and there was other costs of hospital visits and extra staffing, it wasn't that much of an increase. It was going from like 8 or 9 in my mind to 1.2.
I think
600 to 1.2. Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I think what Tisha is saying is that, and I don't think we've been able to calculate that.
Yeah.
But what she's saying is that, the overtime that we won't have, the transporting, we won't have.
we didn't.
So the net effect would
Right,
be
there was
less.
overall about a 300,000.
Well, I don't know if it's that,
No,
but it's definitely probably less than the 600.
Plus, we also, we kept one nurse position on staff that we, so that was about 60 grand. So,
This isn't showing,
Well, it's hard to calculate those things. It's similar with like the 2 FTEs in mental health. It's gonna save 911 calls and ambulance rides. Can we put that on paper in a comparison chart? Maybe not.
maybe in this we would after we get some time. into it.
yeah, we'll have a better
After
idea.
a year of this one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions on A fund, general? I did the highway together because it's kind of linked. Again, salary is up 4%, and this is the D fund. Contractual is down, but again, about 1.9 of that is CHIPS money that we could potentially roll over into 23. So that looks a little like a savings, but it's really not. Benefits is up a little less in highway because I think the budget was a little bit better. The big issue in highway is debt service. You can see we're up 440,000. And if you look in the budget document, the capital, we got, $40 million in projects over the next couple of years and another maybe 13 million in debt that's going to come out of highway. So that number is just going to continue to grow as we get through these bridge and road projects that absolutely need to be done.
Does that number, the debt service, link into what PJ was talking about at last finance, where we're taking basically fund balance and investing it?
I'll talk about that at the end.
Okay,
How's that?
sounds good.
And then in the machinery fund, equipment is down, but again, we threw some ARPA money in equipment this year. So we funded a normal year for them to buy equipment, and then they're going to buy some more, and they're going to buy some through CHIPS instead of with that equipment line. The big items in highway, in both machinery and highway, the insurance is up there like everywhere else. Road salt is going up. Benefits, again, we talked about already. Spare parts, that's another code I think we've been over budget the last couple of years. So this is more of getting it more in line with actuals plus a little bit. And then the fuels that we've seen, across the board with everybody and utilities are the big items in the highway.
That spare parts line we cut drastically back during COVID, and we've been just slow to build it back up again too. We kept trying to get by, but that cost everything is up.
We balanced that out a little bit for this one. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a resolution to, because he gets, his fuel line goes up, but he then sells it to a fund in towns and whoever, and then so he gets the revenue back. So that revenue line is up.
Do we know why employee benefits are up on general highway, but they're actually really 2021 levels? Do we know why they dipped so much in 22? Because basically, there's not really an increase. We're just back where we were in 21, but on every line, it seems.
I think, we under budgeted retirement line this year significantly.
Okay.
About 800,000 across all funds.
Got it.
That's a big part of it.
Changed because it's state investment? Are we in the same state retirement program? Because my money's been at 8 or 9% because of the changing investments.
Yeah, they had a bad quarter, the last quarter, and it went up because of the 5-year vesting for tier 5 and 6 that they put
Well,
in.
in our town retirement, I don't know if it's true with all the other towns, but we just got our bill and paid it at our last meeting. We were 40% less than what we budgeted. The actual bill came in and it was significantly lower.
But we had a lower bill for this year, but the estimate for next year was up.
Yeah.
Right,
That's right.
This number is the estimate for next year, so.
Yeah. No, I get that, but for this year's retirement, I don't know if other towns saw that. We were
It was
40%.
because the stock portfolio was so much better last year.
Now.
Okay.
And then last is solid waste. Again, equipment is down. Again, that's a reflection of, we bought some more equipment this year than we kind of played catch up with equipment in a lot of places. Their contractual is up. A lot of that's, we'll get to the bottom, but it's some fuel surcharges and things from their carriers. So their appropriations are only up a little bit compared to this year. Again, insurance is, everybody's up. Transportation services, that's kind of where they pay a fuel surcharge to their carriers and some of their fuel costs. Brush grinding is up. If we can get someone to do it, it's going to be up. And then tipping fees and the recycling fees, again, there's fuel charges involved with those. The good news is we did, you guys authorized the increase in the fees, so it's kind of balancing everything out a little better shape than they've been in the past with those fee increases.
That grinding brush may come down, sending that out, Ron?
Yeah, well, we did send it out and
We just need to clean up the mess that.
we're budgeting. It depends on how much we take in. But
I know that I've talked to other municipalities that do that, and they're not getting a lot of bids on it. And when they are getting them, they're coming back much more expensive than they have in the past. And that's all I had for summaries by the fund. Back to
I
here.
really like this summary. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Or PJ, do you want to talk about
Yeah, can we just talk about cash balances, because we always talk about that. And first of all, let me just give credit to Jim. A lot of kudos this year for diving in his first year of the budget. He's done a heck of a job. Even though I would be sitting down in his office and like, Jim, we got to do a little more, we got to do this, we got to do that. And, you know, he would come up with it. I'm surprised, but he did a great job.
You didn't jump out the window or
No,
nothing?
no, no.
see where we are next year at this time?
Well, we put them on first floor. That's right, yeah.
So that's all. Anyway, everything revolves around our fund balance policy. I've explained this before. We put that fund balance policy in place in 2019. When we're finally inching our way up out of the grave. So our fund balance policy states that in cash, in the general fund, we should have between 10 and 15% in cash of the total appropriations for the year. So that puts us between 13 and 21 million dollars, high and low end. At the year end 21, although we haven't had our audited financials yet, we ended up with about 24 million. And out of that, we elected to say that we could take 6 million of that, which would bring us down to 18, and apply that towards the capital projects that Ray has identified, $11 million worth of capital projects that he could not do over the last couple of years. So by using that $6 million, instead of borrowing that, at 25 years at 3%, it's going to save the taxpayers about $2.5 million. So our objective moving forward from a cash position is try to continue to build that cash. And if we build cash in the general fund, we will use that towards capital projects instead of borrowing. So that's the objective. And that will, in turn, will save a lot of money for the county and for the taxpayers moving forward. The other thing I just wanted to, just so you understand, in just raise projections alone for capital projects. Now that does not include this building or the new OFA building, but all the improvements that need to be made moving forward. We're projecting that we would have to borrow in 23 and 24 about $12.6 million to meet these. So anything we can apply towards that to increase use of revenues will bring that number down. The other thing I just want you to understand is that we need to keep that fund balance cash on hand quite high, because just these projects alone over the next 2 years is going to cost us close to $30 million up front that we have to pay out front before we get reimbursed from the feds and the state. So it requires a lot of cash to stay in business. So just want you to understand that. I think we're doing a great job. We just got another Moody's rating. They upheld it to AA3 again, which has been consistent over the years. So we're in a good financial position, but I just want you to understand, it takes a lot of cash to keep the county moving. And, that's what we're using it for, and hopefully, you agree.
I know it's a small thing, PJ, but when you always talk about cash, the other night Jolene told us that in solid waste, DEC just was gonna release some of the funding for one of the hazardous waste days that we did in 2018.
There you go.
So again, it's small money compared to our overall budget, but it's little things like that, that if we don't have cash, we can't run these programs. So,
I'd like to just say, very good job, Jim. I know it's your first year, and I like the way you put things. You broke them apart a little bit more, so it was easy to understand. Sometimes you go through the budget, each line item, you're not sure what's in that line item, Having worked with you and PJ and the committee, it's been great trying to, go through each one of these items and see different things, and then you broke them out. So that was great. Good job.
Good, thank you.
PJ, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's important for our cash flow to stay up. The more we can pay, better off we are, especially with raising interest rates when we're borrowing. I mean, we're definitely gonna pay more to borrow than we can get, let's face it, so. Whatever.
Ron and I have been talking about this for years, but we haven't been in the position to do that at this point in time.
Right.
So the other thing, our cash flow projection and just the general fund and these core accounts, which is really expendable money, with a $6 million transfer, we're projected to end up around $22 million in the general fund. Now, we've appropriated in this year's budget 2.7 out of that. So that brings us down to the 20 million, which is kind of right on line where we need to be. So hopefully, all the checks and balances are in place. Again, we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. But one of the questions that Michael had was about the sales tax. I have to tell you, in my 11 years in doing this, I have never brought sales tax up to what we brought in the previous year. We always hedged it by a couple $1 million. But this year we brought it up to the 21 levels because we're still doing well in 22. We ended up with 55 million in 21. We should end up around 60 in 22. But again, who knows what 23 is going to bring? So, any other questions?
The fund balance that you were talking about, is that unrestricted cash?
Tax stabilization, which is restricted and unrestricted. Yeah. But it's available money that we could tap if we needed. Yeah. It has nothing to do with ARPA. This is no ARPA money.
Yeah, right.
No.
Can I ask you about the timeline? You said that the projection is that we're gonna have 22 million in the general fund. We're gonna minus 2.7 million that we're gonna appropriate instead of using taxes.
Well, we will have that money in the general fund, but we're gonna use 2.7 and 23 moving forward.
So is the idea that we're gonna start the year with 22 million in the and as a cash, or end the year, or both?
We in 2022, right?
In 22, we should end the year with between 22 and 23 million.
Okay.
Ready. And then it's got to go to.
And then we're gonna use 3 million in 23's budget.
Okay.
Wherever we carry it for a while, probably. We're just gonna have to all be, really careful watching our numbers going in the budget, to do this through committees.
So some of the DSS payments tend to lag. Where are we in that
It's
equation?
much better than it was during COVID, okay? They're not lagging significantly more than usual. How's that?
That's a political statement.
So we can sleep at night? Is that what-
Pardon me?
We can sleep at night?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, over the years, we invested a lot in DSS in terms of our financial staff,
Mhm.
to upgrade it, and they've been pretty much on top of it, as well as, PJ's office. I mean, John Albert in your office spends a lot of time
Yes.
working on DSS stuff with them. And, they've been a lot better at capturing their money.
Similarly with mental health, correct? Mental health as well.
Yes.
Can we ask the supervisors online if they have any questions? Does anybody on watching have any questions? Any supervisors?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
First of all, can I quote Controller Brigg on it's going to be a V instead of a U for a recession curve?
We're hoping.
We all are.
All right. I just had a few questions. I just saw there's I think a big increase in the county attorney contractual and then a big decrease in the culture and recreation contractual. You may have said this a few minutes ago, but do you know where the big sources of that increase and decrease respectively were?
The county attorney is the assigned counsel. That's about $200,000 increase in that line in the contractual there. Culture and recreation, a decrease.
Yeah, I think I saw a $432,000 decrease contractual for.
Yeah, I think that might be, it might be grant related in that one. I'll double check that, but my guess is it's grant related for that big of a decrease.
Well, that's a good thing. That's all I have.
I think Winfield's getting so no longer funded.
Yeah, but that's not culture and recreation. Culture. It might be the, no, that's in health. I'll have to look specifically before I say what it is. Any other questions?
If we're offline,
Excuse me?
I just want to make sure that everybody on mine has been heard before. You want to go first?
No, you go.
So this budget, just in general terms, assumes the full staffing requested by other department heads.
There were some areas of reduction, and we've already talked with the department. For example, the sheriff's department had asked to restore the 6 correctional positions that we had jointly agreed to take out, and we informed them that we took it out, and that, it's something we could revisit, if the need arises. And they were fine with that when we had the discussion with them. It also, and there were, I'm not sure about other departments, but I think we pretty much, were able to give them what they requested.
Everybody seemed to be pretty happy with it.
So I just want to also give Jim and PJ a lot of credit, and I love that you came with this because I'm often squinting trying to follow along.
That was Kelly's idea.
Thank you to break it down
It's hard to see figures.
into different areas is really helpful. So thank you for that. And just as one of the people who was on kind of the budget work groups, I also want to thank all of you, especially the others that did even outside work groups. And one thing I really want to acknowledge is that we are bringing up a lot of employee pay in this budget. And I think it's really important that we retain our employees, that we honor the work that our employees do. They've worked through COVID. Obviously, the union team worked hard on union negotiations, and then the budget work group also worked hard on making sure that the management positions and other positions that are not covered by the union contract also got the raises that they deserve. We're looking at an 8.7% federal pay range next year. It's the highest since cost of living is up, and we were able to do that. So if we look at it from a sense that people on a fixed income, they're going to have an 8.7% increase, but we kept the tax increase at 2%. So there's still, a good range in there for other increased costs, while also making sure that our employees can afford to gas their cars and, their groceries and all of that. So I think that's really important to acknowledge, and I want to thank all of you, a lot of who are in this room for doing that hard work, and Michael Reardon too for breaking all that down.
Yes. I know you've heard me say this before, but this budget is a reflection of recruitment, retainment, and compression. And the compression being when we did negotiate the contracts, we then had to look at our managers because, the salaries got compressed. So besides the fact that, all of our contractual expenses have gone up and, costs in general. So this is a 2% increase in this with what we had to do, and with the 4 union contracts, I think it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, and I think we did an amazing amount of work on the attorneys to get everybody on a level playing field, and so that we're not having this middle of the year, and everybody's on the same playing field. So I think that was a tremendous amount of work, and we restructured all of that. So it's good.
And as I said, next year, I mean, we took the hit this year in terms of salaries, but next year shouldn't be as onerous.
And one thing that I heard PJ say that I think is important too. Yes, we have this increase in sales tax right now, but it might not be. And so to take that money essentially and invest it in these one-time infrastructure projects, because mid-year, if we see, oh my goodness, sales tax is plummeting, we can hold off on one of those infrastructure projects. And things like salaries, they're ongoing. So you can't use this increased sales tax revenue that might be temporary and put it into fuel and salaries and operating expenses. So I think on every level, it's an intelligent budget. I actually, at the town level, pretty much copied the exact method that the town is doing. And good job to everyone.
Thank you.
Don't worry, we'll be watching the hen house.
Right.
Yes.
Listen, one other point too, people always ask about mortgage tax, okay? So mortgage tax, we're down a little over 7.5% year to date. But what's of note as the interest rate rises, mortgage tax interest rate rises, July through October, we're down 17%. Trending.
Well, we appreciate you keeping an eye on the hen house, and definitely thank you for sharing the eggs with the towns. You guys did a great job. Thank you.
Any other questions? Good. Thank you, Ed. That's good. Good job. Good job.
Thanks, Steph.
Here's Gene Network.
We're good to go, guys. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.